guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's DJ and I'm back with another video. Is it just me, or is it really hard to make friends? If you're not facing that problem, or other people in your life facing that problem, or maybe if not either of those things, have you seen the Gen Z friendship crisis on TikTok? Well, if you're on TikTok enough and you are a Gen Z, you've probably seen this. For a lot of Gen Zers, this is the collective issue. A lot of us feel the same. We feel like we can't make friends. We feel like there's not a lot of places to go to make friends. Or if we do have friends, we feel like those friendships never last because of various reasons that we'll get into today. I just want to start off by talking about like what the Gen Z friendship crisis is. A lot of like slang terms and just like words are thrown around nowadays that sometimes can mean nothing. If they're like circulated around the internet enough, they become changed and the definition becomes misconstrued. So I want to really give a clear, direct definition of what the Gen Z friendship crisis is. We are going to use a little bit of Google AI overview, whatever it's called. I don't typically like to use this for like actual research, but it does give like general definitions that are circulating, especially online. It does pick up on those definitions. So let's see what it has to say. The Gen Z friendship crisis refers to the widespread struggle within Gen Z to form and maintain meaningful friendships, leading to increased feelings of loneliness and isolation. This crisis is characterized by a decline in spontaneous social interactions, a reliance on online platforms for connection, and a tendency to prioritize self-care and self-optimization over social activities. Now, right off the bat, I'm guilty. I'm guilty of some of this stuff that is said here, and we're gonna get into this. Now, looking on the research online, there is a lot of reasons why there is this Gen Z friendship crisis, but the main reason is because of isolation. And I think a lot of this can be tied back to 2020. Yeah, the girl COVID. Yeah, she really did a number on us, and she came in, right? She locked all of us up in our homes, and we had to adapt. And I feel like since then we have just become really comfortable with being by ourselves. I also feel like the rise of the internet and specifically TikTok has really helped keep us isolated throughout these last few years. And I feel like with that has came various forms of like social anxiety and just like lacking the knowledge of how to make friends, how to maintain friendships, and how to go about issues within friendships. I feel like realistically, like honestly, if we're so honest, a lot of us don't want to put in that extra effort of actually building the relationship. Actually, I don't want to say we don't want to put in the effort. We don't want to wait. We don't want to have to, what is that term? Delayed satisfaction, I guess you could say. You have to build up to that point of this person being your best friend, right? So like if you guys hang out for the first year, you guys might not even be best friends by the end of the year. It can take more time than that, right? And I think I'm even struggling with this because I've grown up all my life with having like a best friend or two, and up until literally the beginning of this year, I had a really close friend. Now I don't have a super close friend that like I go to for everything. I tell them everything, right? So I'm kind of in this weird phase and I feel really uncomfortable. However, I recognize that there are friends in my life that right now who could potentially become that person over time. It just takes time. I feel like this is tied to just basically wanting things now with the internet, with, Amazon Prime, things like that, right? We're so used to getting things instantly and not having to wait for them. Like with the internet, there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of things we can learn, right? Especially about friendships, right? I feel like a lot of us are honestly very hyper aware, even if it's not like being hyper aware, self-aware, but you're just aware of the things around you and how people are. And I don't want to say the psychology of people because bro, like we all don't have psychology degrees. However, there's a lot of like psychology terms and slang that is used on TikTok that a lot of Gen Z consumes, and it's related to friendship, right? Toxic friendships, transactional friendships, things like that. A lot of things like that have been surfacing on TikTok.
Social media is eating up most of the time that they could have had for connecting with people in person. Now, although this is true, it's a little bit deeper than that. Social media is not some monster with a straw that's just sucking up Gen Z's brain cells. Because if that were true, that would imply that Gen Z are just some mindless zombies staring at a phone, which would have to imply the same thing for previous generations who were staring at a TV screen. No, part of the reason why Gen Z doesn't have many friends is because social media is reminding them to stay the hell away from toxic people, and they're listening. They're the generation that can easily spot the person who views friendship as transactional. Gen Z can easily peep that friend who gets subtly annoyed when they're confident. So although social media can create loneliness because it pulls people away from in-person connections, it also puts them more in touch with reality because it can remind them that there's some fake people out in these streets. A huge percentage of my followers are Gen Z, so from my perspective, more than anything, reality makes Gen Z lonely.
And I feel like in Gen Z friendships, we tend to let go of people quicker without explanation or without second thoughts. I feel like a lot of us, and I'm saying us, I'm not necessarily saying me all the time, I'm just saying us because I'm a Gen Zer. I feel like at the smallest inconveniences, some of us want to cut people off immediately without explaining to them our feelings, without hearing from them, their side of the story. And I feel like that can be very damaging to your overall well-being of life and the connections that you may or may not make in your life. However, I do think there is a good aspect to it, being aware of how people treat you, you know, having boundaries. But I feel like sometimes Gen Z takes it a step further, or maybe just too far, and we don't consider that people are not perfect, and that in every friendship dynamic there's going to be issues that come up, but you should have boundaries that people should not cross, right? So I just want to make that clear. Another thing I wanted to touch on personally, something I haven't even seen on TikTok people talk about, is that I feel like a lot of Gen Z people don't check on their friends. At least this has been my experience. Like, if I haven't talked to you in a few weeks or even a month or two, depending on the friendship, I will definitely text you like, hey, how are you doing? Genuinely, how are you doing? Like, do you want to talk? What's going on? Are you good? You know what I mean? And I feel like Gen Z is just kind of bad at that. We feel like our friendships are supposed to be maintained with little to no effort, and I feel like that can be very dangerous. And I feel like this has led to also the rise of low maintenance friendships. According to Google AI overview, a low maintenance friendship is characterized by minimal effort and infrequent contact while still maintaining a sense of connection and trust. These friendships thrive on mutual understanding, ease, and the ability to go for extended periods without consistent communication. It's a type of relationship where you pick up where you left off even after a significant time apart without feeling like you have to apologize for lack of contact. So I feel like all of us have at least one of these friendship dynamics where it's a low maintenance friendship. You a month, 2 months without talking, and when you guys get together, when you guys talk on the phone, it still feels the same when you guys last talked. So you don't feel like you have to like rebuild that friendship back up where it was before. I feel like I definitely have a few of these relationships in my life. However, I'm just not the type to have a completely low maintenance friendship. Like I said, I like to check in on my friends if I haven't heard from them for a while. So in that sense of like no contact, not so much. But when it comes to like not seeing my friends, I can go like 2-3 months without seeing my friends, especially during the school year. And when we do see each other, it's the same where we left off. We don't have to build back up that friendship. However, in between that time of not seeing them, I've contacted them. I probably texted them once or twice. So it's kind of an in-between for me. And I definitely see how having some low maintenance friendships in one's life can be okay, and it can be beneficial to the way your life works and just how that dynamic between you and that person work. However, I feel like having all low maintenance friendships can lead to just pure loneliness. So I feel like you have to be careful with the dynamics in your relationships and really be honest with yourself about what you want out of a friendship, because I feel like all friendships serve different purposes. You can have friends that you go out with and you go to parties with, and you party with them, you have fun with them. You can have friends that you do more like just business stuff with, or like school stuff. You guys study together and you guys are really connected through school. I also feel like a lot of Gen Zs don't want to just put the effort in, bro, to actually build up that friendship. We don't want to go through the uncomfortable stages of the friendship, right? Those awkward stages, the first times hanging out. It can be a little awkward, I'm not gonna lie, but after the first few times, like, you really start to get comfortable with that person. You really just have to build it up. It takes time.
Shortcut a close friendship. You can know immediately, like, oh, I f***ed this person, like, I love them. But it doesn't matter. That friendship will not form until you've seen each other over time. And I think a lot of young people especially, they meet someone they like, they go, oh my God, they're the best. They try and hang out as much as they can, talk as much as they can, try and make them their best friend immediately because they had like a little quick connection, and then something goes wrong, and then it all falls apart really quickly because you're trying to put so much on it. It's like, whoa, dude, slow it the fuck down.
Also, to be completely honest, I feel like there's a huge disconnect between what people say they want. They want friendships, they want more connections, they want more people in love in their life. Who doesn't want that, right? There's a disconnect between that and our actions, right? We are isolated. We tend to, want to stay in rather than go out. At the smallest inconveniences, we're cutting people off and not explaining our feelings and trying to resolve the issue and conflict, when issues and conflicts aren't necessarily bad things. They're inevitable in any relationship. I feel like that's what Gen Z, including myself sometimes, we forget to understand, is that there's going to be an issue in every relationship. So if you cut this person off and meet a new person, another type of issue or conflict is going to come up with that person. Bro, I literally thought I was the only one. Like, of course, we've all had to cancel on some occasion, right? And I feel like giving people the grace sometimes somebody really cannot make it, bro. But like when it's a reoccurring thing, or it just keeps happening even with different people, like you really start to wonder, is this a Gen Z thing? And I think it might be just a little bit, okay? I feel like I've definitely experienced this, and I also just feel like Gen Z is just not like super organized with their planning and time. At least that's what I see with people. Like, I have a whole calendar on my phone, agenda, whatever, and I don't see other people with this. So I don't know, if you have a calendar of some sort where you keep everything that you need to do for each day of the week, let me know. Or am I the only Gen Z that does this? But I'm the type to at least give like a 2 weeks in advance notice if it's like, depending on what the event is. If I'm inviting somebody somewhere, if I'm just asking you to come over my house, chill, have a girls' night, I'll give you like a week in advance. I'm never the type to like give you a day or two in advance, because I already know how that is for some people, especially for me. Like if you let me know a day, even 2 days, that might be a little iffy for me because I already got my week set, right? But I feel like for Gen Z, it's not about having their week set, it's just about them not feeling like it. Not feeling like it, rather just be at home. Like, I feel like for Gen Z especially, it's really hard. It's like, if it's not a, you know, a fun, how do I say this, like a party or some sort of event like that, where like there's drinks, there's food, there's music, stuff like that, like you'll be able to get people there, right? But if, you know, you're just throwing like a little barbecue at the lake, chances are a few people ain't showing up. Yeah. And it's like, bro, I get it if you can't show up, but why are you letting me know an hour before the occasion starts? Or why, when I text you, hey, can you come to X, Y, and Z, you say, I'll let you know. A day before the party, you let me know that you're not coming, or you don't let me know at all. Like, this has definitely been my experience sometimes, and it can be definitely frustrating, bro. It's definitely frustrating because I feel like this can be part of the issue as to what's contributing to the Gen Z friendship crisis, is that we don't like to put in effort. We don't like to be uncomfortable. We just like to prioritize ourselves. We don't feel like it, we don't feel like it. We all know that dreading feeling of having to text someone that we cannot make it. And I don't know, like, if it's just me, but like, when something does truly come up, or if I am just tired and I just don't have the energy to go, whatever situation it is, I always feel guilty of like not being able to come, and I always dread sending that text. So I'm just like, imagine if we had to do this in person. I feel like a lot of us would be canceling less, because I feel like that feeling of like, oh, I just don't feel like getting up, is easier to push through than actually going to that person in person and saying I cannot make it, and having to face like their emotions, their facial expressions, all of that. So I feel like that the internet, cell phones, all of that has definitely contributed to flaky friendships, the friendship crisis, all of it. We have to realize, like, bro, if you're invited to something, you're invited for a reason. You're not, actually, let me be careful with that. Some people do just invite people because they want a big party, they want a lot of people there, whatever. But for me personally, like, if I invite you somewhere, it's because I want you there. Like, you being there will make it better. So it's like, if you cancel, the event won't be as good. And I feel like most people can say the same thing for a lot of people that they invite to their events. And I feel like we have to be very mindful that like we do play a part in whatever thing we're being invited to, and you have the honor of being invited by this person. Why not show up for them? Because in a way they're showing up for you because they thought of you, if that makes sense. So what prompted me to make this video today is because I feel like I'm sort of going through a sort of friendship crisis. I've been feeling this way since graduating high school back in 2022. I feel like, you know, growing up, you heard a lot of adults saying like, oh, like in your 20s and your 30s, it's really hard to make friends. You know, you lose a lot of friends, and it kind of just goes in one ear out the other. Like, yeah, like I have all these friends now, like, yeah, whatever, right? Comes to find out, they are so true. However, I'm having this battle because while I understand that this is likely a normal experience, there is a lot of people around me who I don't see having the same experience. Keyword see. I don't know if it is their experience, right? I can't see that just looking in from what they show me and what I get from them, right? So I'm just talking about like people at my job or just people I met at school. It seems like a lot of people have a lot of friends too. I do have friends, don't get me wrong, and the few ones that I have, I love them to death. If you all watching, shout out to y'all. A couple of them I've known since like middle school, high school, and then a couple I've recently met in the last few years. And I'm so thankful for all of them. There is still this disconnect of me, yes, having friends, but still feeling lonely. And I just think that this disconnect may be something within myself. But I also feel like that uncomfortable feeling could be coming from not having a very, very close friend like I'm used to having. And yeah, but I also think that just being an adult, you know, taking care of business, handling business day to day, having to go to work, having to go to school, that in itself can be very lonely because, you know, most hours out the week you're either working, you're studying, or you're taking care of your home, and there are limited hours to go to social events and to hang out with friends. And this is something I've been battling with myself because I'm trying to grow my business, I'm trying to grow my social medias, I'm trying to do well in school, and I'm trying to work, and I'm trying to pay bills, and it's a lot. And I'm trying to remind myself that I need to prioritize friendships more, even more, because I know that connection and friendship and community is one of the core values of mine. So why not put more effort into friendships? And for you, I want you to reflect on, like, if you're feeling lonely right now and you want more community, what are things that maybe you're not doing that could help you build that community, that could help you feel less lonely? And that's just what I've been reflecting on and taking back my control instead of blaming the outside world or other people. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video on the Gen Z friendship crisis, also my little background story and why I wanted to do this video. If you guys want to see more videos like this on social commentary and reactions, be sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video because it helps the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to see the behind the scenes of my life and also what I'm going through with my personal relationships and friendships, go follow my personal channel at Day World. I leave it up on the screen and in the description. And I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.